And good morning, everyone. It's 9:20, and we're going to talk about game plan this morning, and I'm going to tell you why game plan is important. Because things don't always go as planned, right? So I, as the speaker of the 9:20 session this morning, was late because my morning didn't go as planned. However, I knew what I was doing today, so I'd already packed my car with all the essentials, right? My easel, my chart, everything that I needed so that I was able to engage as soon as I landed. How many of you are entrepreneurs in the room? How many of you are business owners? You might be entrepreneurs and business owners. And then how many of you actually work in like business development or some other executive function in a large corporation? Okay, so I think what I'm going to talk about today is going to apply to every single one of you. And Brian, thank you for the wonderful introduction. Brian and I had a little conversation prior to the meeting this morning, and we were talking about the pain points that we deal with every single day with business owners and people or executives that work in businesses. And he mentioned in his introduction of me that I come from multiple industries, and there used to be a time in my parents' generation where people went to work for one company and they stayed with that company for year after year after year, and then they retired, right? So imagine a young person like me that didn't do that. My parents were like, "What is wrong with you? Why can't you settle down?" And I had to explain to her, "Mom, I was promoted 4 times in my first job. I outgrew the environment that I was in, and I always was learning, growing, developing myself, developing my skills, which made me marketable to other companies." And then when I went to what I call the secular world, from big corporations to small business environment, I was astonished at how much I didn't know. So is there anyone in the room that's been in business for a lot of years and you wake up and you go, "I don't know what to do today," right? You're not alone. Business is the hardest thing you will ever do. Does anybody agree with that statement? I had it easy in corporate America. You want to know why? That paycheck got deposited into my account whether I actually performed or not. I didn't have to be the janitor. I didn't have to be the greeter at the door. I didn't have to be the trainer and the inspirer of my staff and the counselor. That is the reality of being an executive or a business owner in today's environment, and it is not easy. So congratulations that you're still in it to win it for yourself. But today I'm going to show you some things that I have utilized and I have learned and benefited from being mentored by some of the most successful people in this country and beyond. I actually have an international connection. So just to give you a little bit of background of why I'm here and why you might find something valuable in what I'm sharing with you today. My name is Kristi Howton. I'm an account executive and agent with a company called Iscential. We're very unique in the marketplace because we write every single line of insurance, but I want to emphasize that we are risk managers first. So we sometimes do risk management analysis for our clients, but their policies are with other agencies, and we are 100% fine with that. But the reason that being a risk manager makes us uniquely special is because we're not looking at one component of an executive or an individual's life. We're looking 360-degree look at what are they involved in. Do they sit on boards, or do they have multiple businesses? Do they have kids in college? Because every single one of those factors play into whether or not they're going to be able to retire financially free. Okay? Now, the CEO of our organization is a gentleman named Warren Barhorst. I would love for him to be here today, but when I asked him, he said, they don't want to look at me. They'd rather look at you. That's really not true. But he's written 2 books because he's so passionate about helping small business owners. So this is going to be an interactive session, by the way. So if you thought you were just going to come warm the seat, I will call you out. But I am actually going to be giving away copies of these books to people that ask questions or interact, okay? So these books, the first one, so if you're wondering why game plan, Warren played football for A&M. Anybody A&M fans in the room? Okay, so Warren Barhorst was one of the very first 12th men for A&M. So, I mean, he's got a little bit of like fanfare, you know, with people that are big university fans, etc. But what I love about him is he's one of the most relatable, approachable individuals there are. Because he started out just like some of you, with one client, one office. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to feed my children? And you don't know where you're going yet, right? And so over the years, we now have 30,000 clients. So all of this material is because of conversations that we've had with our clients. It wasn't he just said, oh, I think I'm going to dream this up and write a book. No, it's because these are the formulas that we have helped companies get on track, create a game plan, and literally you can take this away and create your game plan. You don't have to hire us. And that's why we want to inspire and help business owners, because it's not easy. And at the end of the day, we do want you to be profitable and live the life of your dreams. So if he were here, he would tell you amazing football stories. I am not a big sports person, know very little about sports terminology, so I'm going to omit that. What I am going to tell you is that this is our culture. We are 150 employees in the organization that's called Iscential, but he also owns a consulting business, so there's a couple of professionals that are outside of that. But when you create an organization, and remember I said he started with one person, right? Eventually, he had to create a process and a system, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is do you have all of these components in your business? It doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur. You've got to be looking at these things for the future, because if you're going to attract talent, which the first session was amazing, great content, and it is one of the number one challenges in businesses today, is how do I attract talent? How do I develop talent? How do I keep talent? And today, your competition is coming after your employees. I get calls every week. And I've had to tell a few agencies respectfully, take my email and my cell phone off your list. I would never come to work for you because of the way that you're conducting yourself and annoying me. Yes, your competitors are coming after you. Jeff, you've been in business a long time. You have a manager or an executive leave your organization, how many people are going to go with them? Several. A lot. Like it's crazy, crazy, crazy. So, you know, if you don't have a process of teaching and mentoring and developing your people, it's probably like one of those hourglass things. The sand is eventually going to run out, okay? In today's world, people don't leave because of money. They leave because of people. They don't see an opportunity, or they don't have a good culture. Culture is so, so, so important. So, you know, the research, do you know what your competitors are doing? Sometimes as business owners, how many of you feel like your business owns you? Oh, nobody's being transparent today. Okay, I'm in the wrong room. Most of the time, your business is owning you because you're so stuck in the operation side of your business that you can't even have these things, have these kind of conversations going on. That's where you have to integrate outside consultants. If you can't put them in your chairs, you've got to utilize them outside. I love the word fractional. Maybe you need a fractional CFO. Maybe you need a fractional executive coach, someone that can help you put that format in place, because if you're not growing in today's world, you're one step closer to dying and your door's closing. I know that's a heavy subject. I just really brought down the temperature of the room. So anyway, anybody own a franchise? Yes, I was talking to Brian earlier, and he said, you know, he evaluated all kinds of coaching platforms and finally made a decision that he liked the opportunity and the template, and I think he said multiple streams of income. Huge, huge, huge employment. You cannot be linear in this day. You have got to have multiple things that contribute into your organization. Maybe some of them, it's the bulk of your business now, but you start building this other kind of business segment along the way and have that short-term, mid-term, and long-term idea. And sometimes those things change because everything is changing around us. Technology is probably one of the biggest drivers to why our businesses change so fast. And what happens when technology doesn't work? He's recording this. It sucks. It sucks, So people think, if I buy a franchise model, it's going to come with a template. It doesn't. Do you know, so I'm an insurance agent. You know that there are some of my carriers that will not even write a franchise business. Why? Because there's problems. Because the franchise says, I'm going to deliver XYZ to the business owner, and then that carrier is going to get pulled in a lawsuit when they don't deliver. And they're saying, do I even want to deal with this? With everything accessible and data, trust me, they know before you know. The reason that I bring this up is that if you have ever considered expanding your business and possibly franchising it, you need to speak with a risk management consultant, because you may not want to go that route simply based on, will your franchisees be able to underwrite that risk? It's a big problem in today's world. And then if you're independent, it's kind of like you got to figure it out as you go, right? So here's the thing. Why our organization has been successful and continues to evolve, because trust me, we are not to our big hairy goal, is that we are constantly moving away from that process organization, developed the service side of our organization, but we're working constantly on the connection culture. And that's where I'm going to spend the bulk of my time with you today, because it impacts absolutely every single thing in your business. Now, there was a slide that's missing here, so I'm just going to give you a little background of myself, if that's okay. So I started out at Baylor University Medical Center, and I will 100% tell you that the reason that I am who I am today is because that organization had professional and personal development accessible to me from day one. Now, I didn't appreciate that when I was 20 years old, but when I became an executive later on in life, and then I became a small business owner later in life, I realized that the reason I thought differently, I act differently, I associated with people differently is because of the foundation that I learned very early on in my career. Do not be dismayed to think that if you are a small solo business or you have 1 or 2 employees, that this is not valuable. I promise you, you develop the person, you won't nearly have the problem of turnover, because that is a true benefit that cannot be recorded with a dollar figure behind it. Is there a possibility that they'll go off and start their own operation? I see it a lot in contracting services. Yes, possibly, but if you're vulnerable and you're transparent and you tell them the real numbers, they're not going to. They're not going to, because it's not a transactional environment. Therefore, they have a real life experience of what it takes to run and operate a successful business, okay? So in our environment, we are constantly trying to add value to our clients. I jokingly say, when people ask me, what is your secret to success? I said, I try to make it impossible for someone not to want to do business with me. And usually it's because I developed a kindred friendship with them long before they ever even understood what I do. I have some guests here that I had dinner with last night, and I met Kim when she was at a coffee shop. I'll tell you this story real briefly. I was in a financial conference back in February this year, and one of the presenters, a wealth manager, was sharing a story about her personal experience related to the opioid epidemic that we have in our country, okay? And I was so moved by her presentation, and she was saying, I'm here to tell you that if you do not know what's going on in your client's life, you can't effectively be an advisor to them. She was a wealth advisor. Her husband had had multiple sports injuries, so he was, on and off pain medication. They fought it for 12 years. He did not win his battle with that. I'm sad to say. But she said over that period of time, all of the wealth that she built as a wealth manager was disappearing away because they were consumed with shame and they wouldn't talk about it with anyone. And therefore, it was kind of like, well, I'm going to go try this rehab center and I'm going to go try this rehab center, because they were afraid to let anybody know. Because if you're a wealth manager and someone thinks that you've got a problem that's unstable in your camp, will they likely do business with you? I just met a young lady that's starting her own private practice for family law. And do you think that she hasn't ever had a family law issue in her own encampment? No, but that's what makes us relatable. So when I came out of that conference, one of the things that she said is, if you do not know a qualified destination or a qualified professional to refer your client to in the second, it's too late, okay? Because when they finally reach out to you, it's probably beyond crisis mode. And I'm very big on having tools in my toolbox. I write both commercial lines and personal lines. So on the personal line side, I've got painters, carpenters, landscapers, roofers, plumbers, all of the professional services, because my clients need those services all the time. By the way, if any of y'all own those kind of businesses, you do want to know me, I'm bold enough to say that. And then if it's on the commercial side, guess what? All of my commercial business owners, they need executive coaches. They need CPA services. Not many people network with me. And I stand there and I go, I can't do it all for them. But guess who gets all my referrals? The people that I've actually made those connections with, because I've thoroughly vetted them. So I walked away from this financial services conference and I said, I need to find that, because the bulk of my business is business owners and high net worth clients. And the statistics, the real data that lady shared in the presentation said that is the demographic that it's affecting the most. Okay? So I go to this little coffee shop 2 days later. I'm meeting with another counselor. Not a coincidence. And I overhear a conversation at the table next to us, and it is a psychologist sharing with other facilities of what's going on in their industry and the challenges that they're facing. They don't have enough rooms, ladies and gentlemen. If your client is on the cusp of having a significant crisis in their life, do you need a relationship? Do you need to be able to make a phone call and that person possibly give your client a little bit of priority? And I'm not saying she's going to do anything unethical, but does it have a little bit more weight? It does. So the reason I believe that Kim was sitting in that room that day was because I had made the decision as I left that conference, I'm going to find that person. And the universe brought her to me. And over time, we've been developing this relationship, and we've been collaborating, trying to figure out how do we get her before the decision makers in her industry. Kim and I haven't even done business together yet. So that is the success that I have had throughout my career, is immerse yourself in connecting and helping others, and it will come back to you tenfold in ways that you never anticipated it showing up. And that's why connecting is so important. Now, I have on your sheet, I'm not going to go through every single one of these slides, but what I do want to do is the reason that, do y'all like that? Is that kind of cool for a girl that's not really a big football person? I came up with this idea. And I said, Shelby, I need one of these, but I just gave her the words. And I said, I need you to make it look pretty. But the whole purpose of this is, as we're going through this content, I want you to just do a quick little self-evaluation of your business. If you're an executive and this is, not your business, it's still fine. This applies to you in any format, okay? But the purpose is, put an X where you've got that in place, and put an O where you need to work on that. And then that should be your game plan when you leave here, is I need to go and ask who I know, who do you know? I don't know everybody, but if I know really smart, intelligent people, I'll say, Kim, do you know anyone that da-da-da-da-da-da-da? That relationship, I did have a client that was in crisis a few weeks ago, and I texted her at night. Anybody realize that most things happen not through 8 to 5? Yeah. So, I mean, I try to not answer my phone, but usually when my clients need me is after hours and the weekends. They really do. And you've got to have that open communication. So as we go through, I want to talk about, how do you create this connection culture? Because it's not about you and your business. You've got to connect your clients. You've got to connect your vendors. Every person that you interface with in your business is going to be part of your business development team, if that makes sense, okay? So the unfavorable part of what we get to do is sometimes we've got to grab our client by the face mask and say, I need you to listen to me, okay? I don't know how many of you are advisors. I know obviously an attorney, someone comes to you and says, I need to get a divorce, but they don't necessarily listen to what you say, but they will a little bit because they're paying you a really handsome fee for it, right? Same thing in my business. Clients come to me, it's like being a therapist. Maybe I should go get my psychology degree so I can put those initials behind my name because I do it every single day. But they come to me and they say, Kristi, why is my premium doubled? Well, because you filed 3 claims in the last year and one of them was $1,000. When your premium's $40,000, y'all don't even know anything about insurance. Does it make sense to file a $1,000 claim? No, that's not what it's there for. But we don't think, because we're in such a transactional world. I guarantee if you really do an assessment of your business, every single person in this room, you're going to identify things that are so transactional in your logic and in your business that you're thinking, man, I got to get that out of the way. Because I'm now spending so much time and energy focusing on that, guess what? I'm attracting more of that. It doesn't work, it never has, and it never will. So I have to be that person that grabs them by the face mask. I do it in a nice way, because remember I told you I charm you first, okay? So I already got you under my spell. But when it comes to your customers are not just the people that work through the door and transact business with you. I'll give you a small example. And I got to watch my time here. Small example. I came to the agency 4 years ago, and little by little, like our service team would call me up or Teams me and say, hey, would you write our insurance? I assumed that every single person that worked at the company before me was already a customer of Iscential. Not so much. Because other agents hadn't developed relationships with them and hadn't earned their trust. Because of how I treat my vendors say, hey, do you write my kind of insurance? Because I might be talking about a business policy or a business transaction, but they're like, do you write personal lines too? You know what the number one complaint in my industry is? I can't get a hold of my agent. So what do? Make myself accessible. And sometimes it's not fun because I'm too accessible. But there's ebb and flow in every business, right? And so if you just hunker down and get through those where it's a little much, you get back to the flow. It gets back to a nice place. In my business, if someone files a claim, there's an adjuster that goes out and evaluates your property. If any of you have ever had a claim, you probably can't stand the adjuster. By the way, it's the most stressful job in our business. Okay? Because you're getting pushed from the client, you're getting pushed from the agent, and you're getting pushed from the carrier. Everybody likes to say, I don't like general terms, but what I hear a lot is insurance companies don't like to pay out claims. Oh, guess what? They pay out claims when you have a justified claim. But insurance fraud is so prevalent in our industry. That's why yours and my cost is going up as responsible citizens because there's so much fraud. Can you and I change that? No. But we can certainly navigate it if we make wise and educated decisions. But if you don't know what you're dealing with, it's not going to happen. The reason that I do business with my adjusters is, number one, I know them, I'm watching. I had an adjuster during the freeze last year that told me, I've been doing this 32 years and you're the first insurance agent that's ever showed up to a client's appointment. I said, really? I gave him my card. I said, when you go help some of those other clients that are complaining about their service, give them my card. I'll be happy to help them. 32 years. But the reason I developed the relationship is because I'm a communicator and my client doesn't know the language or the lingo to be able to get what they need from the adjuster and the carrier. But I know that contract inside and out. So I don't care if he's a seasoned 32-year instructor or adjuster or a brand new baby. And how many businesses do we have a lot of unexperienced or inexperienced people now answering the phones and all of these service roles because they laid off the seasoned people that had all the experience? The reason so many small businesses are open these days is because people got outsized and downsized again. In 2020, my business doubled because the oil and gas people said, I'm not going through this again. I'm going to open a business. Some of them are doing well, some of them aren't because they didn't hire Brian, but that's a whole nother story. And then, of course, the owner. So if you're in a restaurant business, and I'm going to dive into this in actual details, but who do you think is probably going to be the person that's going to tell you about your business the most? No. It's going to be your vendors. It's going to be how well you treat the janitor, how well you treat the person, the driver that's delivering your materials and goods. Because he sees 100. He goes to every single one of your competitors and he says, I would go there because those people treat me well. Shocking, isn't it? Now, customers certainly give referrals, but how many of you have a hard time getting a Google review? Do you not do an outstanding job for all your customers? And what is it? Maybe 5%, maybe 10%, if you kind of like stronghold them a little bit, will actually take the time to go and give you a Google review. But how many customers will go and blast you negatively? Oh, they can't hardly wait. They probably have a wreck in their car doing it on their phone, right? Because it's just a weird thing about people, okay? But how do you get your customers? And this is where I'm going to dive in and I'm going to spend a little time because this isn't 100% of my conversations. What did I do with my, oh, here we go. How many of you have ever heard about the influence scale? That's what I call it. No? Okay, I'm going to need someone to participate. Now, you know the people sit on the front row that make the most money in the room? So is it okay if I use one of you? Okay. So, y'all got real quiet. That means either I'm boring or you're mesmerized. All right, what is your name, sir?
Kyle.
Kyle, what do you do?
I'm a commercial banker.
I love commercial bankers. You're one of my best referral sources, and I refer back to you. Would you like to be my new friend?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Tell me, who is the most influential person you know? Don't think first, like right off bat.
Probably my father.
Your father, okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, on success, influence, integrity, character, where would you rate your father? Now, don't be too generous, but also don't cut him down at the knees, okay? Because you did just out yourself by saying he's the most influential person you know, okay?
Probably a 7 or an 8.
Perfect. I think that's we're going to do 7, okay? Now, next to your dad, who's the next most successful person that you know? And I mean really know.
Probably uncle.
Okay. And what does your uncle do?
He used to own a car dealership. He's retired.
Definitely has some connections, right? And where would you rank him? Same?
I'd say more successful, but not as influential. So.
That's a beautiful point. So, would you do 6, 8?
Yeah, probably do a 6.
Okay. Who's your best friend?
His name is John.
This is recorded, but I don't think he'll see it. Where would you rank John?
Probably throw him down at like a 4 or 5.
He's young. He's got a lot of, you're right, okay. Okay. You're a commercial banker.
Yes, ma'am.
Your ideal client, where do you want them to fall on this 1 to 10 scale?
Oh, as high to the top as possible, ideally.
Okay. So I'm going to show you something. I don't care who you are, how successful or not successful you are, you have influence. Would everybody agree with that statement?
Yes.
But it is documented that each of us only really has the ability to influence 1 and possibly 2 levels of success above us, okay? We're just going to accept it as a possibility. So that means that Dad probably can connect you all the way up to a 9, okay? But Dad also has influence all the way down, right? Same thing with Uncle. Uncle can get you to a 7, get you to an 8, also has influence all the way down. John, based on what you said, and it took you a little while to respond, we're going to say John might be able to bring you a 5, and John's definitely got a lot of influence all the way down, okay? Now, y'all, I'm doing this comically, but it's the reality, okay? If your ideal client, and I'm going to say possibly even in here, let's give this, because these could be startups. These are people coming out of college, they work a few years in the field, and then they're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to start something, right? So they might start small, but eventually, as we can see, 16-year-olds that become millionaires, right, off of YouTube and TikTok. I tried to get my daughter to do that when she was 13, and she said, Mom, I don't want to be a business owner. I said, why not? She says, because you and Dad don't have a life. You think they aren't watching? You think that they don't have this perception of us? Oh, they do. When she was in 4th grade and she made me her everyday hero, guess what was in my hand in her little cartoon character of me? A cell phone. Broke my heart, changed my life. Okay, so if this is your ideal client, and we can make the assumption that these people are never going to get us it. They might know one, or they might know someone that knows someone that knows someone, right? But weighted referrals is when there's so much confidence and trust in you based off of your integrity, character, success, etc., that they don't go call 5 coaches. They say, well, if you're saying Brian is the best, because I know that you as a business banker are out in the marketplace talking to people all the time, then you know what? I want to talk to Brian. That's why my referrals are so good. This is where you need to spend your time, the social circle that you need to be in, etc. Does that make sense? Does anybody open anybody's eyes a little bit? And here's the reason I say this. See, I'm already running out of time. This is the reason I say this. If your business is not scaling, now remember, I've been a top producer for billion-dollar companies all the way down to where I am today, okay? It does not matter the revenue. It always matters of how you treat people and how you are influential. I became a Rotarian because Rotary impacted my family's life and gave my nephew the opportunity to be a foreign exchange student when I was 28 years old. I didn't become a Rotarian until I was 48. But that left a lasting impression. And then when someone actually invited me to a meeting, I was like, wow, I can be a Rotarian? I've sat on board since I was like 24, 25. Because did you know that not many people will actually step up to the plate and volunteer? And being a board member is actually a volunteer position. You know, you don't get paid to sit on a society board, but you do a lot of work, right? But do you know that that is where almost all of my connections came from? So if it's not you, and I get it, if you are, first of all, you probably think because I can do this, that I'm like an extroverted person. I'm actually an introverted extrovert. But someone put me on a chair behind a microphone when I was 5 years old and said, sing. And if you don't do it well, the talent could be taken away from you. That was my mom, by the way. And you overcome all of those fears at 5 because God's going to strip it from you. Okay? So I didn't really choose this. It just kind of happened because it kept happening. I was like, well, I guess I better work on myself. I better, get good at it because I guess this is what I'm going to be doing for a long, long time. If you have a message and you are not confident enough to get in front of a room, but your message needs to get to your clients, call me. I'll go do the speaking for you, and I will edify you as a professional. Because I've been doing this since I was 24 years old, professionally, okay? But you have got to get in front of influencers. The influencers are the ones that are going to change your trajectory of your business, and it'll make your life so much better. There's less drama, there's less conflict, because all of those people also work on themselves tirelessly. They also have coaches. They also use advisors. They make wise financial decisions. It's all the things. So when you take this home today, I'm sorry we didn't get through all of it, but when you take this home today, this is my recipe. I am giving it to you, and I look at this quarterly, because sometimes I like people, and I end up spending time over here because I'm tired and it's fun, and then I go, oh, my business is slumping a little bit, so I got to get back over here. I look at this quarterly. Am I hitting all these points? And if it's not something I'm hitting, what is my plan to make it part of my plan? Because there's no option. You have the ability to transform someone's life, even as a small business owner, because that person that's delivering products to your door could become the best influencer in your circle. And he may not have neighbors that are the same income, but he's going to 500 other businesses. You see what I mean? And the reason I spent all of my session talking to you about this today is I hear no one talking about it. So when I was assessing what am I going to talk about today, this is what kept coming up. Kristi, they don't understand really who their influencers are, really who their customers are. But you will not succeed if you do not have a plan. Are you developing your people? Are you making the right connections? Are you spending your time and energy in the right circles? Being a business owner is extremely hard. You've got to have people that say, I got you. I know I can call Jeff because we've shared a coffee together, right? Did you have something?
I love that what you said, spending time in the right place. That's a great comment. So could you address that? How do you figure out where that is?
So do you know who your most profitable service is in your business, or where you get the most referrals from in your business? That's where I would spend my time. The majority of my referrals comes from, well, customers, yes. But as far as referral partners, strategic partners, that's where I invest my time. It's 3 people, no joke. And my phone never stops ringing. Do it from day one. You have to do it from day one. And if you're 2, 3, 4, 5 years into the business and you haven't done it yet, let tomorrow be day one. That's essentially it. Anybody else have any questions? Because I know yes.
I do, because I want a book.
Oh, excellent. Oh, yes, and I got to give you a book.
Would you say it's, like if you're trying to get in front of that influencer?
Thank you.
Yes.
Is it better to call them and just ask to have a conversation, or to take them to coffee?
Okay. Let's see who's really paying attention. I'm 52, by the way. Okay. I've used this since I was 20 years old because someone taught it to me. I'm going to use Kim because I know her. Kim, you're one of the most impressive people that I've ever had the fortune of meeting. I just met you last night, okay? You owe me a few more coffees. I'm just kidding.
Done.
No, we got to have some tears and some laughter for you that bonded. No. Anyway, Kim, I am needing to meet an attorney that specializes in family law. And I know that you know other influential and successful people. Do you know someone that you could make an introduction for me? It would mean the world to me. It would help my business so much. Done. 100% of the time. My biggest accounts came from 2, 3, or 4 degrees of separation. Yes.
So you do believe there is no, I don't know, I'm on the younger end, I'm 24, so I'm still learning business etiquette, and.
I'm gonna give this one to you.
Thank you.
Well, you know what?
Thank you. How to just talk, I mean, build trust with a person, build that connection. I think, like you said, that's really extremely important for them to get to know you, and who you are and your character. But you feel like it's fine to be kind of straightforward on, hey, I'm really looking to meet people in this circle. Like if they have that connection, it's not like inappropriate to do something like that.
So I'm going to qualify this remark with, it has to be someone that you've actually created a connection with,
Gotcha.
okay? Or that you know. At a young time, it could be one of your family's friends. But again, you want someone that you respect, and it's got to be genuine, okay? It can't be surface level. I'm going to tell you, my pet peeve of networking is everybody does it wrong. I'm bold enough to say that.
So how do you do it right?
Okay, there you go.
You create a connection, a real connection. Kim, how long was it before you knew what I did?
It was,
Really knew what I did.
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
But we connected as humans.
I don't talk about my business.
Yeah.
That's right.
I connect people. What can I do? I mean, obviously I met her because there was a need, and I've already gotten a withdrawal. Everybody heard that term of, I hear it in marriages or relationships. So if you're single like me, I may not have been making so many deposits. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, you can only withdraw what you put in. So you've got to make daily deposits. When I go to a networking group, what is your name, by the way?
Margaret.
Margaret. When I go to networking groups, I'm sorting and sifting. I am, number one, looking for someone that has blood flowing through their veins, and they actually take interest in meeting me. Okay? It could be because they like my jacket, or I'm a bright person in the room, or I'm corny, or I show up late to my own presentation. Whatever it might be, the thing is I'm human, right? And so you got to be approachable. If your soft skills or your confidence is lacking, that's okay. You can find other people. Hey, do you know, like I would say, go talk to Ashley that owns the bookkeeping company. She was petrified, and now she's an ambassador. The chambers are great environments for you to get comfortable, develop your skills. People love to help other people. You're in the right place, okay? And I want you to connect with you one-on-one, and we're gonna help you, okay? Because
One more question, then we gotta
Yep.
wrap up.
It's not a
Oh,
question.
sorry, you had a comment.
It's a comment. Knowing Kim, I love her approach to business, and I did leadership Fort Worth, and I've done Rotary and chamber events, and it's when you're vulnerable that people trust you. So in leadership Fort Worth, I wanted to connect with other people outside my business, and I got to know those people, and they asked you what your most successful thing that you've ever done was, and I'm a woman in long-term recovery from alcohol, and that's what I said.
Yeah.
I could have said, I've gotten this account and that account, and every single person in that room trusted me in that moment, and
Yep.
now continue to call me. There was lawyers, because everybody knows somebody who's affected by drugs and alcohol. And so that, I think vulnerability is.
that's a
something
real
that nobody talks
connection.
about.
Yeah, it's a real connection, not an elevator pitch.
Real quick, one question here. No, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She had her hand up.
And I'll take your question offline, sir. I'll come back there.
On the game plan map that you
Yes.
provided us with, starting a new company not necessarily having all those answers, should you just start from the beginning and try and fill them out? Or, because you're talking about evaluating them quarterly, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so
What do you do when you're still trying to figure some of that stuff?
So I'm going to sit down with you one-on-one, but I'm going to share the high points, okay? Who's my best customer? And in your case, it's someone who has access to money, okay? I mean, you're going to help everyone. We all do. But you need people that being able to pay that retainer to you is not like they have to move everything around, right? Because those people are going to be those influencers in your world because of what you do. It's very personal, so how they have that transaction with you is how it'll be a gold mine of referrals, okay? But we'll sit down one-on-one, and then more than anything, it's have awareness of what not to do, okay? And that's lessons learned from other business owners, right? So people that are uber successful love mentoring people that are starting up, because I started 3 companies, and the first 2 I closed, okay? All right, that's it. Thank you so much for your time and attention. My contact information is on the bottom of this.